October 19th, meeting of Berlin Conservation Commission. Open the meeting at 7:02. Please be aware that the meeting is being recorded and your likeness and image will be recorded. Did I do okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right, good. Usually there's a piece of paper here for me to read. All right. First order of business. Did you email the minutes to everybody?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
All right.
yeah.
I'll
Right, they
take
were
'em-
exactly what you had sent back to me,
Okay.
but with a couple of typos.
Oh, right. I do
Yeah.
remember seeing that now, yeah.
Yeah, and I sent a little, just before the meeting, I sent a correction on the budget.
Oh, okay.
There was like, it was like 066 and it should be 006, so just a minor thing.
Oh, okay.
Perfect. Anything else about the minutes? If not, I will take a motion to accept the minutes.
Make a motion to accept the minutes.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? All right. We have minutes. Any update?
No
No, I
forms?
didn't think so.
Jeez.
No. So, no update to the treasurer's report, but we do have two old checks, oldish, well, one of them's very old, for the treasurer. So that is the new house that's going on Gates Pond Road, the small one.
Okay.
Yep. And then the other one, what was the other one for?
So the cannabis,
Oh, is for
Okay.
tonight's hearing.
yeah.
Okay, do we
Yep.
have the DEP numbers for those?
So we do not have the DEP
All right,
number
no
for
big deal.
the,
I was just trying to think
What's the
of.
number for Gates Pond Road?
yeah, we do have that one.
47?
Is it
I
47?
don't know, don't quote me on that, you might not put that in writing.
Right.
Carolyn, if you
Okay,
just show me one of those
it's one of the
agendas.
first minutes.
Yeah, it should be.
Maybe.
I can get it. Thanks.
So
And what's the other check for?
number
Oh.
for Donahue is 107-0263.
6-3.
Thank you.
Holy cow.
And do we have one for the cannabis one?
No,
No.
one has not been
Okay.
issued yet.
So
10
that was the
Bigelow Road, okay.
DEP number?
Yeah,
Okay, what was it again?
so it's 107-0263.
06?
0263.
6.
And these can both go in wetlands?
263. Okay, and the other one is,
Which one were you looking for?
okay. How much was the check?
So there's the one from the Donahues on Gates Pond Road for $67.50,
Okay.
and then there's the one from Kane,
Yes.
Kane Industrial, for $1,787.50.
50 or 60?
50,
50.
and that's for 10 Bigelow Road. And they're both going into the Wetlands Fund.
Okay. And that's for an NOI, right?
Yep.
And 47 also?
What was that?
47 Gates Pond Road is also?
Oh, let me see if I can find it.
Yeah, because we usually recorded that information. in the
47
minutes.
Gates Pond Road, what? What's the question?
The
Was it
address
an
for.
NOI also?
It was,
Yeah.
but it's done and COC has been, OOC has been issued. They're working on it.
Mhm.
It just, I had tucked it in the front of my notebook and then forgotten.
Okay.
And then
So-
I tucked it in my other
And then,
notebook.
and then I gave it
Following
to
meeting.
Maddie and she tucked it in her notebook and, so. All right. Bills and forms, we got a letter, a copy of a letter that the Board of Health sent to Dillis and Roy saying that they do approve the modification to the septic system at 263 West Street. So we're just gonna put that in the file for that. What's the NOI the DEP number for that? Do you know?
No.
Well, if that's 65, it's probably 60-ish.
This one was 63.
So 62, yes.
62, yeah.
Yep.
Okay. And that's all I have for, do you have any other bills and forms?
So reimbursement for AJ?
Reimbursement for
Oh, yeah,
AJ.
remind me, I have a reimbursement too.
Yep. So AJ went to the MACC Fall Conference, which we'll do a report of later. Just a
A full report.
full report, yeah, written.
Yeah.
3-page minimum.
I'm going hunting in the morning and stuff.
So here's mine for the MACC handbook too.
Okay, awesome. All right, so AJ's is $130. Do I have a motion from anyone?
Do we need to, or can you just sign it? I think you can.
Oh, I
right?
can, huh? I can just sign both of them.
And I can write that on here and just add it, because I have the KP Law, and then I have my reimbursement on here.
Okay, we have a big one that we have to do later too.
Yeah,
Big vote.
so AJ's was for,
MACC conference, fall conference. Paid, perfect. Excellent.
AJ was 130.
Yep, 130 even.
Okay. There's the,
Okay, yours is for your.
we might have done that last time. Well,
Do we want to do this separate and then do the big one on its
I
own?
have a separate one,
Okay.
a blank one for the SVT, just in case I wanted to keep the little stuff
Yep.
on that.
Agreed.
So. So the MACC one for me was $15.94.
$15.94, yep.
And that was for the MACC handbook.
Okay.
And you're gonna do AJ's out of the budget as well, right?
Yeah.
All right, there's that. And that's all the mail and everything, right? Mail and money?
Yep.
That should be for our title on the agenda, mail and money.
Yep. Yeah, the only other thing, the email's been pretty quiet. So the only thing was Cody Johnson wrote in about a couple things, about the updating the town maps on the website.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And then also Clark CR Trail Maintenance, he also wrote in.
Which one was which? Which one was the one across from the Pheasant Lands on 62?
Clark.
Clark. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, so somebody emailed Conservation pointing out that some of our maps, our trail maps on the website are out of date. So we talked to Dan actually on Sunday, and he suggested we steal them from the SVT website. So we will do that.
I think it's kind of hard to keep the maps updated with the road trails going through our lands.
Well, the rogue trails shouldn't be on the maps.
That's right.
Yeah.
So SVT is going to update the maps?
No, we're going to get the updated maps from SVT.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
And do you know who I message about that? The town website?
I
Oh,
I
you
have
manage it?
access to
Okay,
it, yeah.
cool, okay.
You just need to remind me to do
Okay.
it.
I can organize the PDFs and get it to
Yeah,
you.
yep.
What was Cody looking for?
And then he also, you were emailing with him about, he was also saying that the trails on the Clark property are starting to become overgrown.
That's the one. That's the ones across from the Pheasant Lands on 62.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
I forget what it's called. It's not Danforth. It's
No,
Lester Ross.
Lester Ross.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Cody's the young gentleman with the bike path, right? He was here. That was Cody.
Nope,
No,
Caleb.
that's Caleb. We don't,
That's a new guy,
I
yeah.
don't know.
Oh, Kobe's new.
yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Very well.
Yep,
Go check it out. See what's over there.
yep. So, yeah, so Kyle's gonna work on that. Yeah, and I think that's it.
Mhm. Yep, we don't have any reports from Pat Gardner yet.
Right.
So
But
there's
yeah.
just 3 communications.
Yep.
Mhm.
All right. Well, we're just a couple minutes early, but it's not really a posted meeting anyway. So we have a certificate of compliance request for an old septic system. The address is 247 Linden, and Maddie and AJ? No, Maddie and Louise went and did that site walk. So they're selling the property and just need to close out the order of conditions.
Remember you.
What do we need to do for that?
Just, so they went and just checked it out, made sure that, you know, I mean, it's from 2009.
Yes, you can just sign it, we don't have to
Yeah.
vote or anything?
Oh, we do have to vote.
Okay.
Across the
We
street.
have to
Yeah, for
vote
me.
to,
Oh, yes.
so, do you want to report your findings?
Yep, so me and Louise went up there on October 8th to check out the property. Yep, and pretty much to get the Title V, they had to clear off, it's basically all knotweed to expose, you know, the septic and stuff, and I mean, it looked good. There was no signs of them, you know, going down into the wetland areas, or they basically exposed what they had to expose to get their Title V approval. Yeah, and they plan on reseeding it and working it. But, yep.
Awesome.
So we can just make a motion?
Please.
Make a motion to approve the COC.
Second.
DEP number 203. We have a motion and second. Anybody have any other comments, questions, penetrating insights? Not, I'll ask you to vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? All right,
What's the DEP number?
203.
2? There's a number missing here.
107,
Right.
02.
Oh, 2, okay. All right.
So that 203 number is from 2009?
Yeah.
Aren't we only on like 265?
Uh-huh.
Wow.
And probably-
Oh, yeah,
And
we were putting
probab-
them out like crazy there for a while.
Yeah, but I'm surprised in, you know, that long of a period that we've, I would have thought there would be a lot more.
All right, we'll go this way first. So we'll just take a couple photocopies of this and give you guys the original to be filed with the Registry of Deeds.
I'm all set.
And then we'll also send it into DEP, send a copy into DEP, and you should be all set. Yep. There's a second, there's another
Oh.
signature page.
Oh, I missed
Oh.
that one, okay.
Wait, oh.
I thought. Oh, maybe not. Oh, just, how about just next to my name then? Those
Oh,
lines?
yeah, oh, yeah, no, I was
Yep.
gonna go there, but I wasn't sure.
We just haven't seen one of these.
Oh, wait, hold on.
Yeah.
I know. Doing everything on Zoom and filing electronically, it's like, how do I write my name?
Are we gonna make it, like, that we can have electronic signatures on these documents, or?
So there are some that Maddie can e-file, but
Okay.
like legal stuff like this for the Registry of Deeds,
Okay.
Mark
Yeah, we
Adams
learned
found
that
out.
the hard way, yeah. Felt so bad. I was
that,
like, oh, I think you're fine. Nope, wasn't fine.
yeah, he needed a copy of the
Oh.
actual signature page, so, but, All right, you're next.
Wow.
Yeah.
Scary. That could have been. I don't know. Thank you very much.
We're waiting for Maddie to come back?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. As soon as Maddie comes back. Oh, and Alex, just an amendment to the agenda. Alex is not coming in at 8:15.
Well, there go the cookies.
Right?
Yeah, no, yeah.
Has he brought us cookies yet?
No.
No.
No, and at this point, he better not until it's done.
We got Oreos once, that was a good time.
That was
I'd be
heck-
worried about what was in
That
the
was-
cookies. If you
Yeah, right. A little bit of arsenic.
Those are tough. I'd still eat them.
I don't know if I would.
Just test the water, see.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah,
let,
you can
we'll let
have it
Robin, I was
first.
gonna
Yeah,
say,
yeah.
we'll let Robin eat them first.
Maybe it's not enough, you know?
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good
Good
night.
night.
Do you wanna come out?
Do I have to?
You don't have to. We can yell.
Which one is this?
So this is 157 Lyman.
Oh, okay, good.
Um,
We're knocking them off quickly.
We are,
tonight.
yeah.
Getting ahead of schedule.
Yep. So Maddie
Hello.
and AJ went to do the site walk.
That's correct.
Benedict Alberts,
Hello.
and his son Jacob. So Benedict has also looking for a certificate of compliance. These guys went up and, if you remember, this is that long driveway on those newer lots on the back of Pisgah on Lyman Road. And there's a long driveway that goes up into the woods.
You said 7 acres, right?
Yep.
Yeah. it's-
Oh, nice.
Yep. How long's the driveway?
The combined is like 1,100 feet.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. And there's wetlands, certainly on the downhill side, an intermittent stream that comes from the uphill side. And they did a great job with the silt fence. There's one area that Maddie and AJ were concerned about. So I talked to Benedict, and we need to talk about he would like to remove the majority of the silt fence to get in to clean up some dead trees and stuff like that. But there's one area that still needs to grow in. He had some gravel delivered, so that area didn't grow in this summer the way it was supposed to. So one of the things that he's recommended or offered that he would do is put down some wattles around that area until that grows in, but remove the remaining amount of silt fence.
I don't see any problem with that.
Okay.
Makes sense, yeah.
I mean, that area too that we're concerned about is pretty flat too. Like,
Mhm,
it's,
Yeah, yeah, it's not,
thankfully it doesn't have a slope
Albert's.
into.
Albert's, LLB, that is.
yeah. it's
His
very-
wife was
very-
Arian Mancusis.
Oh, that's the way it was. I
Yep.
thought it was the son. I
Yep.
got- asked him, okay.
I did dawn on me, and I came to me yesterday actually after you brought some things to light. The end of that pipe that goes under the driveway, there actually, and it's on the drawing if I'm not mistaken as well, there is like a couple of feet of like 2 inch, 3 inch, or 4 inch of stone, like that just
Yep, that
basically
comes
filters.
Yep,
So
and
it's not
slows it
in
down.
straight
Yep.
shot
Yeah.
Yep.
through out. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Right.
Although,
Slow the velocity.
Yep.
Yep.
so there is.
Yeah, I think that was pointed out during the initial walk, when it was
Yeah.
in April, May.
And that's when
You
that
early
was-
summer, you guys were there, I
Right.
believe.
And that's when the water was actually running too, so you
Yeah.
could actually
it
see that
stopped
it was
then
doing.
there, because I think
its
then after
job.
that we had 96 weeks of heat.
Yep.
But,
Yep.
Right.
I'm surprised
And
anything
no
grew.
rain.
Yep. Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
I think it's amazing that we actually have grass. Yes.
Yep. Yep.
But yeah, last time we were there was, prior to us coming this past couple weeks, there was like no grass or anything, and that had at least grown in over all the septic and everything,
Yeah.
and so that was looking good.
Yeah.
Yeah. but it's basically just that little bare area right next to the fence.
Right. So that, does that sound acceptable to everybody? Anybody?
Yeah.
Yep,
Fine.
Hey, may I bring something up?
you may.
At the MACC meeting, one of the presenters was talking about wattle that they use that does not contain any plastic netting, because that never goes away.
Right,
I mean, it remains in the, but I haven't had time to research it.
right.
It's only Saturday. But
Already,
I just
it
wanted to
was
bring it up.
already Saturday,
Just wanted
yeah.
to bring it up.
Yep,
Yeah.
We can throw hay bales down and throw a couple wooden spikes in them if that is helpful to
I-
everybody.
right. So if you want to spend the money and get the good hay, because a lot
Versus
of
the
like
evil hay?
construction hay, well, a lot of construction hay contains invasive seeds. So, yeah, it's like one evil, the other
Certainly,
evil.
Link or whoever sells.
Right, it's, I don't
evil
know,
hay.
Yeah, you
I don't
can
know
get-
who sells it, but it's,
Whether he brings it in or not, there's gonna be plenty of invasive species up there.
I know, well, exactly, so you don't need to bring more in.
Oh, there's plenty of bittersweet there.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're talking about, what are we talking about, 7, 8 feet?
Right.
Yeah, that's-
right.
You could use straw though, right? Straw in lieu of hay.
Local source straw.
Straw instead of hay. I didn't
Is hay
even,
straw?
is there, I was gonna say,
There
what's
is a
the difference?
Oat straw.
That's- Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, they use it for the horses and all that stuff that we're talking about?
It's bedding.
No, we
It
actually use straw for
typically doesn't
bedding
have-
and then
Oh, bedding,
hay's
yeah.
for eating.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's, but, right.
I
straw.
know of a potential source, and I don't mean to interrupt.
Sure, yeah.
But S&M Farms, I know they do erosion and sediment control, and they use straw. So that might be a
And-
source.
Yeah, I
Where are
know
they?
usually we're told to use straw.
I think you have to go, I forgot where they're from. But I have used them all the time, and they're great.
Okay.
They have non-invasive.
S&M
Farms.
Farms, yeah.
Sure,
Okay,
easy Google.
awesome.
All right, so is that all? We're done, we're good?
So we need to vote. Someone will make a motion.
So moved.
You have to actually say what the motion is. Yeah.
Make a motion to approve the COC for 157 Lyman Road.
There you go.
Second. Oh. Multi-task.
With,
Walter getting in the game.
Yeah.
right,
It's all second.
right,
So Marvin,
let's.
you made the motion?
Yeah, I motioned and Holly, or no, Walter seconded.
Okay. And can you repeat your motion?
I made a motion to approve the COC for 157 Lyman Road.
COC's template.
Certificate of compliance, yep.
Just don't say so moved. Doesn't work.
Yeah.
See, I know what
It used
COC
to
means.
work.
I don't-
It used to work.
Yeah, it used to, right?
Sometimes it works, depends on how many words I say it first.
Oh, yeah,
You
if
said it, yeah.
she
You
kind of
said
cues
it.
it up, you can say so moved.
Yeah,
There you go. I wasn't
Are
set
you
up
living
for
there
a...
now?
But she said
Yeah.
who wants to make a motion,
April.
And then you
Right.
know.
which means you gotta say.
all right.
It's nice.
Okay.
All those in
Come on,
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, so we don't have it already prepared, because,
Was questions?
yep, so we'll put it together, and we'll have to sign it at our next meeting.
That's fine.
But in the meantime,
I'll try to do that this weekend. I'll send some pictures.
Okay,
And
perfect.
everybody can know. If you feel like you want to see it yourself, let me know. Swing by. We'll make it work. All right?
excellent.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you.
Have a good
Thank you,
evening.
Benedict.
Thank you.
So did you make a-
4 minutes early, look at us. We do have to wait for you, though, because,
Understood.
can you sign in?
Sure.
No.
Is there a
Did it
preferred
go?
place again for this? I forgot where you guys. Thank you.
Maybe over there. so
Yeah,
the camera
maybe
can
over
just swing
here.
over.
Okay.
I might have to turn
Too,
around.
But I don't want to be on camera.
No, you can just lean that way, yeah. We talked about that. Right, so we still have to. All right, good. Doing good, though. Is that really?
What's that?
This is the stormwater management report for that property.
Which property?
Bigelow,
Ooh.
yeah.
Wow.
Light reading,
Light reading.
very nice.
Very intriguing.
Mackerel.
Reading. It's about maybe 40% the size of one that I submitted right before that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I had one that was over 500 pages.
Wow.
Double-sided.
So. That's so cool. So this is the existing hydrology map. Is it a two-part map, or did you get it all on one?
Is that the yep, so
Yeah.
there are two. One should be existing, one should be proposed.
Ah. Nope.
If she shows up tonight, I'd like you guys to bring that up.
Again, make her really upset.
I just love it's good. Since 1984. She hasn't changed. It's great.
I think it did come up at one of the meetings.
ZBA.
Yeah.
Because they did that for another one, you know.
Yeah, that's what has her infuriated. That's what has the whole family infuriated.
The one they did it for was just a residential, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it was a spec house, I think. It was
Yeah.
right there. in the
I don't know
corner
that we
of,
need to
Yeah.
on,
No.
on this. This is
Gates
just
Pond
while we're
and
waiting
Marlboro.
to
Yeah,
set up and
right.
Or not
everything.
Gates Pond,
I mean,
Marlboro.
if you want, it's
Right.
this is not the site map. This is the hydrology map. Yep.
And also, this is the proposed hydrology map, and that one is the,
Existing. Excellent.
Is that mine? Where'd it come from?
All right, Wayne, you can come on up at 7:30.
Hey, Madam Chair, members of the Commission, Wayne Bellick, Land Design Collaborative. Looks like Kathy's not here.
Oh, as you conjured her.
It does say 7:30.
It does. Any,
Sorry, I'm
any
sorry.
movement on the water from Hudson front?
no.
I just thought I'd ask.
Just kicking.
Again, his daughter's getting married Friday.
Yeah,
He's gotta be able to walk.
yeah. I almost wasn't able today. She almost killed me. So again, Wayne Bellick, Land Design Collaborative, joined by Kathy Adams of Kane Industrial Trust. A couple administrative matters here tonight, Madam Chair. So this is the certificate of mailing notifying all the abutters. That's the original, including the DEP filing fee check. These are the two public notices, one that was run on the 12th of this month and the other one on the 18th.
Okay.
Thank you.
No
Not yet.
green cards.
So
Well,
this,
It's you, us,
Town of Hudson.
Town of Hudson, and DEP.
Yep.
I'm gonna say you're all set.
yeah, so I wouldn't, so we've been questioned before on that as well. And I'd always used the green cards until about maybe 3 years ago when we had gone to the post office with the green cards. And the postmaster said, "What are you doing?" "Well, we're using the green cards." He says, "Honestly, it's a lot more work for us." He said, "Go with this. This serves the same purpose." And ever since, we've been doing that for all our notifications.
Huh. So don't the green cards get returned to the post office when the people, so because this proves that you mailed it, but it doesn't prove that they picked it
they've
up.
received it. That's
Right.
correct.
No, but if
Yeah.
you go online, you can prove that if they received it or not. You could do that.
So it has, each one has a tracking number?
No.
No.
That's what I'm saying.
Does that, let me see.
I mean, it's fine for this, obviously.
But,
There's no tracking number,
Oh,
there's
there's
no,
no-
yeah.
so if you have the original receipt, you
Yep.
can just log in, and then it tells you every single person on that receipt, what's the status of the mailing is. And then you can just do a printout from the post office.
So this, I would imagine that is your number,
All
right
right, let me
there.
give it a try.
Right.
Okay. So one more thing, Madam Chair, with respect to the DEP file number, I reached out to them today. They've yet to issue it. The circuit rider that's been assigned the project is Kim Roth. She just returned from maternity leave, so she's got a stack of papers on her desk like you read about. So I think we are 17th on the list.
All right.
So, so with that, as you folks are aware, we're running meetings concurrent with the ZBA and with the Board of Health. We're about to file that application with the board, so with that, as we discussed before, if you'd like, I can go up to the plans. However you'd like to do this, I can start with the plans and we can run with
Yeah.
it. If that works for you. And I could probably do that.
Do
from
you
here.
have these up there?
I don't, but I could place them up there,
All right.
you know?
Yeah.
Or if you folks want to do it from here when we get to the
I can share.
stormwater.
Yeah,
You know, when we get to the stormwater, it's pretty
Right.
straightforward. Okay.
right. So like I said, for this one, it's fine.
Yep. In the future,
But
we'll
in
go
the
with-
future, we prefer green cards. I don't know what other people want, but
Or I would think if we could get some sort of backup that shows that it's delivered, you know, if you can get that online and.
Yeah, you can.
if you can get it online and print it,
You know,
that's
I'll check
fine.
with the post
But,
office. They'll raise that with them.
So you need the original receipt from the post office, and that gives the tracking number of every single person. And you do have to punch in the individual.
okay.
Right?
Yeah, so Kyle just reminded me, he has a new job that he started yesterday.
Monday.
Monday?
I got voted in, yeah.
He now works for the inspectional services in Hudson.
Okay.
Assistant building inspector.
Right.
Oh,
Good, we
kidding.
need one
Congrats.
desperately.
Yes.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you.
But I don't know, because this building is in Berlin, you guys aren't
Yeah,
gonna
there's
be.
no conflict of
Is
interest.
for Hudson, the Hudson part?
The
No,
Hudson
that's all
part's done.
behind us.
Right, the Hudson
Go
part
over
is
there?
done.
To be safe.
Yeah, that's what I
All right,
figured.
scram.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm recusing myself because I'm part of the Hudson Building Department. Thank you.
Thanks. So with that, so I could go up here, start with the presentation.
Sure.
And then we'll cook right
Move on
through
to
it.
this, yep. And ask any questions anybody has. We're not gonna close this tonight because
Correct.
there's no DEP number, so.
It worked for the cat.
Oh, there you go.
All right. So the limits of the property in question, so this is the town line, right here, the limits of the property of this in here. The limits of the subject work is from this side of the BVW over into this area in here. The green along here indicates the bordering vegetated wetland, which was along with the intermittent stream, which was confirmed with the issuance of an ORAD several years ago, and by virtue of the COVID tolling period by the state, that delineation expires in June of 2023. So with that, again, this is the BVW. What you see in this dashed line here is your 25-foot offset. The solid line is the 100-foot buffer, and that applies, oh, Marley, there you go. Up here. If you hear me say Marley, that's just the cat. This, I knew I shouldn't have played with him so much, I'm sorry.
You're just gonna have to stand up there and actually point.
Yeah. So this in here, again, is the 100-foot buffer zone. There is a public water supply well up in this area here. Oh, I'm sorry, right here, and that was permitted as part of the notice of intent filing that came before you folks several years ago. A blow up of this area, as I said, all the work of the site is being contained to this side. This is the access drive that was constructed as part of that original filing. This area in here, like I said, is the town of Hudson. We did go before the town of Hudson earlier this year and received an order of conditions to construct this access drive in here and the stormwater basin. As you folks recall from one of our previous conversations, we had gone before the town of Hudson ZBA to get relief to their driveway width. They have a requirement of 30 feet. We felt that was excessive, especially being within the buffer zone. And so we got that reduced to 24 feet, which flew with the fire chiefs in both towns. And with that, we had moved ahead with the filing of the notice of intent. We designed the stormwater basin in here, and as part of this filing, as you're going to see, we're going to expand the basin in the Berlin portion of, in this town, expand the basin as part of our stormwater management. So again, everything in here, the solid red is the 100-foot buffer zone, the 25-foot no disturb, and what you see in green is the BVW. Topographically, as you can see, there's a high point in here, pitches down to this area in here, and that's depicted in the watershed maps, in particular the existing conditions. Again, with the high point in here, pitches down through here, and then through a gentle swell that comes through this area in here, and then it continues from this hill in here down to this area here to the north. The vegetation on site, it's pretty much vegetated with the exception of this area in here, so they cleared to about here, going out to the well site in the previous filing, and they continue the clearing up in here and through here to continue. And what we show on our plans is a tie-in with the limits of clearing to what was previously permitted.
So you're gonna clear more back there?
Yes, out of your jurisdiction. It's beyond the really for the septic system. So as we discussed with you folks before, we concentrated the development to this side because
Where is the septic system relative to the well?
the septic system's going to be, so I can get to that in the...
Okay.
So, as you know, one of the reasons, in fact, the driving force in situating everything up in here is that Entwistle exists here. It's highly developed, pretty much all impervious in this area here. So we concentrated everything to this side to leave this entire area here natural because of the town owns open space in this area here that eventually goes out to the pond. That's Gates Pond, right? The proposed conditions, so we're going to start by establishing the limits of clearing. So again, the same color scheme is on the existing conditions plan. The change that you're seeing here is this green in here, which would represent the limits of clearing for the site. And again, we tie into the existing limits of clearing. Up in here is the limits of clearing for the septic, and as you can see, that's beyond the 100-foot buffer zone. What we show in here are some stockpile areas, ordinary borrow stockpile areas in these areas here, temporary soil stockpiles in these locations here, and then we propose some diversion channels. And what we've done is we've located the diversion channels at the toes of slopes. Anywhere that we are proposing a swell, we'll have a diversion channel. If it goes down to a stormwater basin, we'll utilize that stormwater basin as a temporary sediment basin. And likewise, once we discharge down to a plunge pool as part of our drainage design, we're going to utilize those areas as temporary sediment basins as well. So what we've done is we've shown some proposed diversion channels in this location here, which this comes down to this area in here and eventually into this basin in here. This is the expanded footprint of the basin. And likewise, we've got them running from here to this area in here. And that's pretty, and then another one in this area here. This would be where we're going to propose the parking, and you'll see that in a minute. And so we've got a diversion channel at the toe of that slope to to a temporary sediment basin in here. Now, as you folks know, as you move through construction, site conditions may change with weather and everything, and as they start to move the earth around, they may find that, you know, a rill is being created. So then they'll look to address that by check dams and the like, rip-wrapping it temporarily, and addressing that accordingly. So this is basically a roadmap for them as they do their work. The proposed conditions. Now, first of all, I wanted to apologize for what looks like unfertilized lawn area here. I'm not unfertilized, unirrigated. I thought the green on the marker was going to give me a prettier green, and as I started doing it, it was nasty. So I apologize for that. So again, same color scheme as before. What you see in here is the proposed building. It's a 92,500 square foot building, 2 stories. Each story is 20 feet in height. The upper area here is at elevation 297. This lower elevation is at 277. The access drive, like I said, comes in through here. What I failed to mention in the earlier part of the presentation is the access drive has been constructed. Okay, it's been constructed to bind a course. The stormwater basin has been constructed in Hudson. Everything is stabilized, and we're going to be going for an order, a request for a certificate of compliance, I think maybe this fall. There's a little bit of hydroseeding that they have to do quickly to get out there, and hopefully it germinates. If that is the case, we'll go this fall. If not, we're going to go for it in the spring. With that said, with the driveway being in, all the drainage infrastructure is in as well in Hudson. So again, we're picking up from this point and working into the site. So we have a 24-foot access drive that comes up to this area to the lower loading docks with 2 loading bays in here that have the 4-foot drop up against the building. This is an elevated ramp so that a small van can pull up to the building and they can draw onto the warehouse floor in this area here. Likewise, we have the same type of program going on in here, where we have 1 bay here for a 4-foot depressed loading dock, and then the ramp in this location. Dumpsters are located. We have 1 dumpster located in this area here. We have the other one up against the building in here. We do have, as we discussed, if you folks recall, when we met with you a while back, we talked about collecting that rooftop runoff and taking it and routing it through the cistern. That way we could keep that replenished. And that's what we've done. We've taken the entire rooftop runoff, we've taken it, routed it through the system. Any overflow is going to come in here and go into the stormwater management system here, which are Cultec chambers. What you see is this area in here, which is hatched. Now that area in there represents the portion of the stormwater basins. We've got, these are detention and infiltration basins, but because of the offset to groundwater couldn't be met in this area here, we're putting an impervious barrier in here, a liner underneath the system, so that there's no contact with the stormwater and groundwater. And then here, we're taking advantage of the infiltration only in this area here. This system up in here, in the basin in here, full infiltration and detention. So with that, we have, like I said, it's routed through a cistern, which is located here. There's a pump house at the top of the system, again discharging to the basin through a series of structures that eventually discharge into this plunge pool here. Likewise, this system up in here flows through a series of structures discharging into the plunge pool and the level spreader in this area here. So the thought is that as the water makes its way through the retaining wall that's proposed on this side, it would go into the level spreader, it would fill, and then just lightly cascade over the top, rather than having a point source directly to the resource area. It's going to dissipate that energy. So in terms of the stormwater system, we have a series of catch basins in here. So for instance, we've got them in the parking lot. This collects this system here and the drain system at the building, routes it down through here, and then into this system here. This stormwater in here that's tributary to this area is from the high point here, which comes down, actually, no, this comes down to here, I'm sorry. So this comes down to this area in here, gets collected in here, this localized watershed gets into these two basins and is routed into the open body stormwater system. Anything that's coming overland rather than directly from the rooftop is going to be routed through a stormwater treatment unit to meet the PSS rule rates. So that is part of the design as well. In terms of the wastewater, and I'll actually get into that after I get into some of the site grading. All the operating around the site is designed at 3-to-1 slopes, other than these very shallow areas that we're showing in this area here. So all this nasty yellow looking area that I've colored up in here is going to be loam and seeded, with the exception of this area back in here, which is going to be a wildflower mix. We had spoken with the fire chief, and what he wanted to see is he's very satisfied with what we proposed here for his access to the building. And what he also wanted to see was an area in here where he could pull up into here and still have access to the backside of the building with his apparatus. Likewise on the other end of the building as well. This is going to be a compacted gravel drive in here. And as we talked to him, we said we could either go with a compacted gravel drive with a loam and seed over the top and kind of mix up the loam and seed mix so that it's not, so let's say a 50-50 sand and loam mix with another type of surface, or we could go in there with a crushed stone. So that's what we're proposing in here. Outdoor mechanicals, we have a transformer located here. We have the AC units on this end of the building. Let's see, there are walkways on here, so the impervious areas of the access drives, the parking area, the walkways, and the building. And again, all this is routed into this system, and the rest of it's attenuated through the stormwater management systems. Again, back to the operating, all 3-to-1 slopes, as you can see in here. In here, it's a tighter slope, and the reason that we did that is to meet the grade at the property line. Some of the challenges that we had in here was balancing the cuts and fills in working with how much of a fill do we want to have to the down gradient side. If we wanted to limit the fill down to the down gradient side, it required a little bit more cut to the up gradient side. So being a little bit more sensitive to that area within the buffer zone, we said we're going to do a little bit more of a cut up in this area, resulting in a 2-to-1 slope here with slope stabilization. It's going to be like a jute matting or something similar there too, in this area and in here. As you can see, with respect to the buffer zone, very little buffer zone activity in this area here. We honored that along here. Well, actually, we honored this in this area here. This portion of the site is within the buffer zone as well as this area in here. We did, at the request, if you folks recall, there was a discussion about snow storage and what's going to happen with the snow storage, where you guys are going to put it. And what we committed to you folks is that we would propose snow storage beyond the limits of the buffer zone and at locations, actually I don't have the layout materials plan, it is in the plan set, but along this area in here, and along this area in here, we have proposed no snow storage signs. I do have a printout of that in here, and there's a detail, and it basically says no snow storage for the Berlin Conservation Commission. So those will be mounted on the fences, or in this particular case, standalone on galvanized channel posts. Again, as you can see, the configuration of the stormwater in here and here in their respective systems. I'm open to any questions that the commission has for me, which I'm sure you do.
I do. I feel more comfortable working down here, so I'm going to let you finish doing your presentation, and then we'll open these down here.
Yep, so with that said, there are some, I can go through the impacts within the buffer zone. So again, there's no resource area disturbance. We've honored the 25-foot no disturb throughout the site. There is one minor exception to that. As I said, as part of the original filing, we were coming through here. So in order to have the alignment of the driveway get realigned through here, we're loaming and seeding this area that was previously disturbed, and it will net an increase within that area to provide for the access in this area here of 330 square feet within that 25-foot no disturb. The rest of the site, no touching within that 25-foot no disturb. So I have them quantified here if I could, Madam Chair. quickly go through those, and then we can jump into whatever questions or whatever plans you wanted to look at. So, in looking at these areas, I've got, so everything that's on this side of the wetland, we're looking at the upland area on that side equates to about 7.2 acres, 3.2 acres of which are located within the 100-foot buffer zone, of which less than an acre, 9/10 of an acre, is in the 25-foot no disturb. So with that, in terms of buffer zone alteration, again, there's none. Work within the 100-foot buffer zone is about 140, that's 140,000 square feet of buffer zone on this side of the wetland. Of that 140,000 square feet, there's alteration of those 70,000 square feet. So roughly 50% of the buffer zone on this side is altered. But again, keep in mind, we're not doing anything on the buffers within the buffer zone on the other side. Within that 25-foot no disturb, it's a net increase of 330 feet because of what I've just explained here. So other than that, you know, and again, all the work is going to be performed up gradient of the erosion sediment control measures. The stockpile areas that I've made reference to earlier will have a silt fence around them. We're proposing everything up gradient of straw bales or straw wattles and silt fence. And, you know, we change it up subject to the slopes in proximity to the resource areas. If we have steeper slopes, we go with the straw bales and the silt fence. More gentle slopes, we're looking at the straw wattles and silt fence. We do have, and before I continue seated, we do have an area in here that we're proposing a riprap channel in here. I looked at this originally and wanted to go with a grass type swell, but because of the slope in here, anytime you get above 4 to 5%, you don't want to be playing with lawn or any type of that treatment. You want to go to riprap, and so I proposed riprap in here, and that will help slow down the velocities as it makes its way down to this area in here.
All right.
I have who did the plans, who did the drawings for.
You're looking for the
I'm looking for the
the
stamp.
design. Oh, that's Michael Scott, Michael J. Scott, PE. My business partner.
Which page? Oh, right here, I see. Michael Scott stamped the plans. They're drawn for Kane Industrial, Kathy Adams.
Okay, and the date?
August 12th. Okay. All right.
Are these the plans that were submitted to ZBA?
Yes, yep. So the only difference was we removed the turning movement plans and I think it was the turning movement plans were the only plans because it's not really germane to this discussion.
So I had some questions, trying to find, which this is layout and materials plan.
I can get you there, Madam Chair, if you want to start with the question.
All right, I think it's mostly on here. Okay. I have questions about this first, but so you said, what were the words you used to
So
describe
these-
this?
that's a plunge
Like
pool, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
gentle waterfall
Yeah,
kinda.
Non-Niagara type conditions.
Yeah.
So basically what we have is the pipe comes out through the retaining wall at that
here.
location, yep. And what happens is as the water comes through into that plunge pool, it fills up in the plunge pool and then it cascades over the top.
Right, so how deep is this? How big is it? How,
They're typically, so it's sized based on the diameter of the pipe. So that particular one, if that's a 40 scale, that looks like it's about 20 foot wide and about 15 feet deep, long. And the depths on them are typically about 2 feet in depth.
And they're riprap bottom?
Yep, yep.
And that's the same here?
Yep, so that one, yep, that's riprap coming into that basin to dissipate that energy and to prevent scouring.
But no plunge pool.
No,
Didn't you say there was a plunge pool somewhere else?
yes.
Oh, here.
Yep.
Okay. A gentle cascade, huh?
Should I have gone with another word? You're not
The
gentle.
plunge pool's kind of.
Yeah, yeah, so the, yeah,
like-
so the plunge pool is basically a depression.
Okay.
Okay, that's the depression, and at the top of it is a berm, and so as it comes up, after it's...
Overtops.
Overtops.
Right.
So the energy is dissipated in that plunge pool. So as it's coming in there and it's got the velocity coming through, let's say the 12-inch pipe, in fact, I think that is a 12-inch pipe there, as it's coming in, what happens is that energy is dissipated
Sure.
with the riprap.
Yeah,
and-
no, I get the concept. So, what size storm is these rated to be able to handle?
So it takes the velocities, the maximum velocities coming through those pipes, in is the 100-year event that's routed through the system. So discharging from each of these systems, so each of these are sized, the 210 and the 100, and that's what was designed, looking at those storms. So as even the 100-year event comes through here, it'll dissipate that energy as it comes through the system and then cascade over the top. The reality is, when you look at these systems, and I'm just going based on my experience, there was something I had done, it was in Sudbury, John Taft subdivision, you remember that, off of Dutton Road? We had, and this was back in the 80s, and these were fairly substantial basins. And granted, it was a more gravelly or sandier material, but I had gone out there and there were days of rain. This was back in 87, and I think 87 was a wet year, and it was in the spring. And the water was just coming through these 36-inch pipes coming into this basin. And what was crazy is it would come into the basin and never make it to the outlet. And granted, I mean, we're not talking a 100-year type event, but we're probably talking like a 10 or 25-year event. And it was coming into this basin and not making it to the outlet. You're going to find with these types of soils, it will make it to the outlet. Your more frequent event, your 2-year events, so for instance, like that basin down in there, I was out there last week. We were getting a pretty decent rain. We had a bit of rain prior to that the night before, and I had gone out there assuming that, it would be receiving a lot of runoff. Runoff was coming in, and it was going out, but it wasn't that crazy, So when you look at these storms, the 2-year event, those, a lot of times they make their way into the system. You see very little, in the hydrologic model would indicate it as well, that there's not much coming out of the basins. It's when you get into those greater events, once you get into the 10, or even, more importantly, your 50 or your 100-year event, that's where you're going to really start to see it come out.
Right, and we're seeing more and more of those.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
You've got all of this roof water coming into one spot.
Yep. Yep.
Right, so, we're gonna have this peer reviewed.
Yep.
And I know, we'll see how everybody else feels, but I would certainly like to have a monitor, keep an eye on this as the construction is going on.
Absolutely. Yep.
Because everything is so close, there is no room for error.
Yep. Agreed.
If something goes wrong, it's gonna go bad fast.
So, Madam
say
Chair,
monitor,
here's
what
the,
does that mean?
so this would be part of what we would do anyway, Kathy. Because you're altering more than 1 acre of land, we do have an operation and maintenance plan in the filing in the stormwater report. As part of this, we're going to be filing a SWIP with Nippities. Once we get the site contractor, it's a joint effort, filing with the feds will e-file a notice of intent. You will get your NIPID's permit from the feds. That gets incorporated into the stormwater pollution prevention plan, which stays on site at all times. As part of that document, I refer to that as a living, breathing document. All the permits that are received by the town, by both towns, are going to be in that document. The board, an order of conditions will be in that. The ORAD will be in that. As part of that, they have all the names of all the contractors that will be working on site, and all their contact information is going to be on that. As part of that process, the site super is going to appoint an inspector for the project. We have done it ourselves, so it will probably be somebody from our firm or somebody on site. I'll give you, for example, over here, Kathy, I don't know if you know it, but Nick has been going out here and inspecting this driveway. So anytime we get
I
anything,
know it when I write the check.
oh, so you do know.
Yeah, yes. So
So there,
we're gonna want
You to write in checks.
to pay our monitor to keep an eye on this for us.
Yeah.
Okay.
And basically, he's also, if we all agree, the person that we usually use is Pat Garner. He's out of Northborough. And he'll do the peer review. And then I would recommend he monitor several sites for us. He has done this. So basically, he goes out and checks it, not really weekly, but usually after rain events.
Yep.
To make sure that all of the controls that we're putting in place to protect the wetlands are doing what they're supposed to do.
And to prevent, I'm sorry, Madam Chair, so to prevent me from needing to come here on your behalf, what we'll be doing is Nick is going to be out there walking the site as part of the stormwater pollution prevention plan. So we're going to be looking at a belt and suspenders type thing here for the town.
Right, Pat will be
Yep.
there monitoring for us. And he'll give a weekly report of, every time he goes, he'll send a report to us and to you. And if there's any recommendations, they'll be in that report. And then we'll communicate about what to do about those recommendations.
Perfect.
Okay, so tell me what's this
So this is,
in a little bit more layman's terms.
yep. So this here, you're talking the hatching.
Yep.
So basically what we have is a,
Is it kind of like a septic leach field?
there you go. There you go.
Okay.
So basically, bad. So what's happening here is under the state regulations, we cannot be closer than 2 feet to groundwater with the system.
Sure.
Okay? So we needed a certain volume. Now, we had already met the requirement for groundwater recharge and then some. Okay? So in looking at this area here, we said, okay, this is an ideal area. We've got a fill condition in this area. Let's install let's propose a stormwater system in here. And it does operate pretty much like a septic. Madam Chair, if you want to go to the detail, I can show you guys the detail on how this puppy works. Is that one of the last sheets?
So not this.
Nope.
So
That's it in plan view.
is this a similar,
Yep, that's the same.
you're
That's,
doing that also here?
yep,
Okay.
the same type of systems in both locations. So this is erosion sediment control. This is a blow up of each of these areas. So what you see down below here are these Coltech chambers. And if you look at the section, this arch type section, so basically what happens is there's an arch that does this.
Made out
okay?
of?
Made out of high-density polyethylene.
Excellent.
So it sits here, and what happens is a pipe comes in the end, like this, and discharges the runoff into the system. When the water comes in, it works its way through the system, and then when it gets to the end, all these systems are connected through a manifold pipe. So it comes into this leaching chamber, works its way through, continues, and goes throughout the entire system. So what happens is that it fills up, and then when it fills up, it gets to another elevation where there's another pipe. And when it hits that pipe, that's what's controlling the storm event as it comes through. So what happens here is, because the topography is doing this, we need to maintain 2 feet of groundwater offset, okay? And the system is sitting like this, okay? So where the paper meets the table, we can certainly meet that 2-foot groundwater offset, but where the pad meets this sheet up in here, we're not meeting it. So in order to meet that 2-foot groundwater offset,
You need to move the water further
yep,
away.
we need to move the water further away, and the way to do that is install a liner at the bottom of the system. So it's flat down below, so at the bottom, let's say of this portion of the system, there's an impervious liner that comes up the sides, so when the water comes in here, this is purely detention. When it gets to this side where we're meeting that 2-foot groundwater offset, it's a combination of detention and infiltration. So the purpose of this liner, it's a polyethylene liner, it's plastic, it's about that thick. And what they do is they put it in the ground, same thing as a breakout, an impervious barrier for a septic system. What they do is they put it in and they heat the seams, seal it up, and so it's watertight. So that's why, and so because we can't have contact with groundwater per DEP, that overcomes that. And so that's what that represents in that hatch pattern.
And the inside, the pipes are corrugated,
Yep,
so it's not smooth, so it's not just blasting through.
that's right. So at the very bottom of these chambers, there's a 6-inch layer of 3/4 inch to 1.5 inch stone. So somewhat like a septic system. Once it comes in here, when the water comes in, it's just going into the stone and just flowing through the stone. So some of it will flow through the chamber and manifold through the other side, and then some of it will be dispersed among the stone, through the stone and up into the other chambers. So it's a combination of things going on in there.
Right.
And so what you see is that during the more frequent events where there isn't as,
Is Kyle here?
He's in the audience tonight.
where there isn't as much runoff, you're not going to get the depths that you would in your 50 or your 100-year events.
Right. And in the off chance that this fills up, where does the excess water go?
So basically what happens is it's designed to get to a certain elevation. Once it hits that elevation, then it comes out through the pipes, and then let's see, is this, yeah, and then it comes out through the system, through I guess this right here, the way this is modeled, is the outlet control device is located in here. And basically what that is it has circular cutouts within either a PVC type of device or a concrete device where there are cutouts within it, so that as the water comes up, it only lets a certain amount through at varying storms. So it lets it through at a certain rate.
Like a dry well.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
And so it lets it out, and then it comes down through here to the retaining wall into the plunge pool in this area here.
Any questions?
Well, you know,
I never heard of anything like this, 20 years ago.
Well, you know, it's funny you bring that up too, because when you look at the regulations 40 years ago, they were much different
That's right.
than they are today.
Yep.
So it was not until 1995 did the state have stormwater regulations. And that's pretty much what has prompted this type of design. We were always required to attenuate the pre and post bylaw runoff when it left the site from my first day in the industry. But what happened is over time, you know, with the regulatory process, starting with the EPA and then the states and now the locals, we need to attenuate it certain ways. Now, the products that have come out are amazing. Compared to what we had before, they're a pain in the butt at times to design, but when you see them functioning, it's really cool. You know, and that ultimately comes down to the maintenance of the systems as well, and that's why we have an O&M plan as part of this.
So I noticed a detail for check dams. Where are the check dams? Or
So
is that just a,
So the check dams would be located in areas that, as I said earlier, where we create a diversion channel. So as they're working through construction, and if they need to, and they're creating a swale, let's say they start moving earthwork around
I see.
during site prep, and all of a sudden a rill is created, what they'll do is they'll construct the check dams at certain intervals to slow it down and propose riprap within those areas. And then eventually, once they get that stabilized, then they can continue with their site work. And then when they get over to those areas to regrade them, those
so
will
do you
all
guys
disappear.
get that?
That's during construction?
Yeah,
You said? Yeah.
and, yeah. So like while they're digging this, if they've got this trench here and the water's just zooming down there, they'll install check dams here to slow the velocity.
Yep.
So what did you say about snow storage? You mentioned something about
Yeah,
it.
so we
Yeah.
could go to the layout materials plan, which is,
More this way.
and if you could, Madam Chair, after we do that, I'd like to show you guys the sign that I came up with. So here are the NSS is what I call them, with no snow storage signs.
Okay.
Located along these areas. I have it here as well. I also have them along this area here, and it runs all the way along down to here. I think this is the last one proposed is here, right at the town line.
So where will it be stored?
So it will be stored in these hatched areas in here, and anything that is in excess, what they'll do is they'll remove it from the site.
Okay.
So these aren't gonna be raised islands
They're
then?
they're going to be islands with a Cape Cod berm, so that they're going to be this much higher. So what they're going to do is when they store it, what we have is, we show the snow storage area in here, and what I didn't want to do is show snow storage where we have trees. So what you see is as these are broken up the way they are, because we have trees in here. I could have showed but that would be disingenuous. This is basically how it's going to be stored.
How much of a snowfall can that accommodate in those areas?
So typically, when we look at that, you're talking your typical snowfall, let's say a 6 to 12 inch storm, and that would be what is addressed here. In this particular case, the reality, we only show about a 5 or 6 foot area in here, but the reality is as they're coming through and they're plowing, it'll stack up even higher
Yeah,
and move
and
up even
push.
higher.
Yep.
But again, like I said, in those areas within your jurisdiction, there will be none of that as shown on the plans.
So when you're plowing the access road,
Yep.
right?
Yep,
The snow will be stored in these,
correct.
okay. So are you gonna be using salt on the access road?
Typically, what do you get? So we have the way the system, it's probably going to be a sand, okay? And we have the system set up so that anything that gets in the catch basins and the stormwater treatment units will be cleaned as part of the O&M plan. I think it's once every spring or once every 2 springs, they need to be cleaned out. So they'll use you're talking about the the technology and everything. I sit on a board in my town, a board of sewer commissioners, and we just bought what I call Snuffleupagus, and what it is a jet vac truck, close to a $500,000 investment. But what it does is it goes up to these new stormwater treatment units. You folks have seen the old clamshells that go into the catch basins, so they can't use them on these new systems. So what they'll do is they'll go in there and they'll stuff Snuffy's trunk in there, and then they'll suck all the stuff out.
Big old vacuum.
That's it, big vacuum, very powerful vacuum. The same thing applies, if you get a blockage in a drain line, they flush it out with the hose on the other end, which is a pretty powerful hose. So with that, to answer your question, it'll, more than likely be a sand application, and that would be going through the catch basins and the stormwater treatment units are maintained as required by the operation and maintenance plan.
Right. Now, I assume, especially given the nature of the facility, there will be security fencing.
Yep. So topography is working in our favor here. We've got a couple things going for us. We've got 495, where there's a fence along 495. We've got Entwistle and topography. So what they're looking at, Kathy, I think you're looking pretty much at a security fence along the front
Yeah, the
and
gated.
the gated front of Entwistle. Between that, in terms of vehicles, they're going to have to go through a stormwater basin if they need to get to the site. The topography doesn't lend itself to it. They will also have security cameras on the
No,
building.
no, no. What do you mean?
They'd have to drive through this catch basin, like you
Detention
couldn't
basin.
get through there.
So that's
So
depressed.
the fence would be down.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm worried about fencing around the back of the building.
Yeah, we
I don't care what you're doing in the front.
No, so that topography, we could go to the grading plan. I could show you. We're retaining the topography along the back edge of the building. So what we, next one, maybe the one after the layout materials, I'm sorry. Yep. So what I've done is I've maintained this in here. So what they'll do is they'll put in the building in here and retain that topography in here. So it's gonna come up to this high point in here, come up to the high point in here. That will remain topographically undisturbed. So in terms of, somebody trying to access the building with a vehicle, will have to go through the security gate at first, at which point these folks will be alerted through the monitoring system. Topographically, as I said, in order to get through this, there's 2, 4, 6, 8-foot grade drop from Entwistle to the bottom of that basin. So they'll be having, if they wanted to come through that way, that's quite a challenge.
So, in the order of conditions, we're
Yep.
gonna say no fencing along the back of the building, and there's none planned.
Right, and so, Madam Chair, one of the things that, I sat on the commission for like 6 or 7 years until they drove me nuts, and my wife threatened to leave me because I spent so much time. One of the things that used to really irritate me was working and you get the planning board, they'd approve a stormwater basin, and they would approve it with a 3-foot or 4-foot high chain link fence around the stormwater basin, okay? We all know, whether or not we want to admit it, there are migratory patterns for different types of wildlife. And wildlife, if you get something inside that basin, the critter's not coming out if there's a chain link fence. I look at it as when I was a little kid, which I still like to be a kid, if I see a chain link fence, and I'm like an 8 or 10 year, 12-year-old kid, I'm gonna go hop the fence. We're playing
Oh, I
guns.
wanna watch that.
Yeah. These days, not a pretty sight. I assure you of that. But with
Because we're about the same age, so.
oh, I assure you we're not. I assure you we're not. So we had as I've said to commissions, I said, a kid sees that, they're going to hop it. So what we like to do is when we create our basins, especially for residential sites, commercial sites are a little different, but even still, put in vegetation that is going to be a deterrent for kids. Junipers are not nice to kids. You put something in there that's thorny, that's an attention getter. The kid's not going back in there. If they've got a fence and they know they can play guns or whatever they're playing, capture the flag, it's a different animal. So what I tend to do is I avoid any fencing, because of that particular reason.
Yep, just given the nature of the facility, I
Yep.
wasn't sure what level of security you're
Yeah.
putting in here.
Yep, so I know that they are required under the state regulations for one of these facilities to provide security. And the police department will have a copy of that security plan as well. It will be monitored. There'll be camera systems. There'll be illumination. So if somebody approaches the building, all hell breaks loose.
So, but yes or no? No fence.
No fence.
Thank you.
But with
Absolutely
that,
not.
You were saying that it was gonna go up in the back, but what did the fire department say? Did they expect a vehicle to get back there, or they just
Just
want
a
to be able to
portion
get
of it.
back there?
Just a portion. So
They
they were
want to
looking
be
at.
able to get
Yeah.
here
Yep.
and here.
Oh,
So
okay. I didn't
basically
know.
what and I'm glad you asked, because what I said to them is I said, in the back of the building, what I'd like to do is I said, we're going before Concom. What I want to do is try to minimize, any grade changes out there. So is there anything that you guys can live with? He goes, oh, absolutely. You just give us like 40 feet along the back here. We just pull it in, bend the vehicle, send the ladder up, and we're all set. So he was very happy with it, and we got a very positive letter from him to that effect.
Sounds good.
But like I said, and I'll say this to, I've said this to other commissions, when I get involved in these project situation, you know, when Pat goes out there, Pat Gardner, when he goes out there, my plan is for him not to find anything wrong. Because the very last thing, while I appreciate you folks, it's a different story when you have, let's say, an enforcement order, or there's a wrist slapping. I don't like getting my wrist slapped, so I avoid that at all costs.
How fresh are the flags? Have you refreshed them, or?
I don't think they have been refreshed.
Okay.
They haven't been.
So,
There's still a decent amount out there.
Yeah.
okay. So that will, I mean, you know, as you and, do you guys want to go with Pat for, because he's going to want to do a site walk.
We can do that.
As part of the peer review.
Yep, absolutely.
So I'll have him coordinate with you.
Okay.
And, you know, we're just going to want all of these flags in place, and if that means refreshing them as you go, that's what it means.
Okay. Okay.
Right, so I think my last thing, you talked about loam and seed here. Is that what we want? Like,
So, Madam Chair, this portion coming through here will be gravel, but the area that was this in here, previously approved, this will be loamed and seeded. Or actually, this would probably be
it's probably going to be gravel, because that's where the,
crushed stone, yeah.
Right.
That'll be permeable
right,
with the crushed
Okay.
stone.
yep. And I don't know, wildflower mix, or do we want to see like high bush blueberries or something?
Whatever you want.
All right, we'll jump off that part of the bridge when we get there.
Okay.
Anybody else have anything else for now?
No.
You mentioned putting plants in some areas.
In some of the islands.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
so what type of plants would you?
Non-invasive. They will be longhorn beetle, Asian longhorn beetle,
Ridden.
tolerant. Wow, that was tough. What time is it?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's past
Maddie, do you
bedtime.
have suggestions as to the kind of trees?
We do have a listing in there if you
Right,
want.
so
I can go
Maddie's
through
a
that.
certified arborist, and her
Perfect.
real job is working for the USDA on the Asian longhorn beetle study.
No
She goes out in
kidding.
the woods and looks for holes in trees.
Did you go through Auburn at all? Were you assigned to Auburn?
Yep, we did Auburn, so, yep, so the last positive tree we found was up on the golf course, the Packagug Hill Golf Course.
Were you out there a couple of years ago?
Mhm.
Like in Auburn?
Yep,
Marion Ave area?
probably. Yeah, we did all of Auburn. I was kind of off of Southbridge Street, more down that
Because I
end.
saw some people in the woods, and they were tagging the trees and stuff, and
Yep.
doing your thing. Did you set up camp like you had tents out there? Did I?
We didn't set up tents.
What were they? What were they? They look
Oh.
like tents.
So up in the trees, or?
On the ground, I saw things in the, it's like, what is going on out here, hon? You
No,
know?
I don't
I
think
thought there was
that
like
was
a
us.
commune.
No.
So, but then I saw you,
People
my.
might set up hammocks and stuff for
Oh, that's
lunch break and
that's
stuff.
what it was.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it was.
Yeah. Yep.
My son's husky, who's gentle as a kitten, turned into a wolf that day when he saw you guys out there.
Oh, yeah.
He bolted. I saw a nasty animal. So it's like, what's going on? And then I went out there. They started talking to you folks, and then I saw the vehicles out front, parked in front of us. So it's like, what did I do? I didn't do anything. And it was interesting. Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. So, yes.
So I'm gonna let Maddie make recommendations
Sure.
on the trees.
Absolutely. Maddie, we have, so the planting plan's in there, go nuts.
Okay.
All right, whatever works for you.
Within budget.
So we had, so what we had done is, the planting plan, as I was telling the ZBA, we looked at their formula for calculating shade trees within the parking areas. And when you looked at the formula, the initial reaction from Jim, who's the landscape architect, he looked at it and he said, it might be the one after that. And I went, share. Be that one right there.
This definitely looks,
So he said, this is ridiculous. This doesn't make sense. And I said, I'm just gonna play around with it. And that's what he came up with, and it worked out very well. The formula worked like a charm. I don't know who came up with it, but it was pretty good. So we have the listing up here. So I know Matt's probably really familiar with the Latin terminology, but we have them all up there, so.
Pin oak, little leaf linden, eastern red cedar.
I feel like this would be a great picture for our website right
Yeah, I just saw that.
Go ahead.
You gotta make sure you plant the male ginkgos though. You don't want
Yeah,
that
yeah,
sticky fruit.
So that, what is a ginkgo?
So it's really pretty. It has like that fan-shaped leaf. They're primitive.
Right, but they're
Yeah.
not native.
No, they're not.
So I'm wondering, I find ginkgo an interesting choice. I have a ginkgo tree in my yard, I love it. But it's not native.
Yep.
Yeah. They're very resistant though. Like weirdly, they're pretty
that's
resistant
why.
to any diseases or anything like that. So,
What's wrong with a sugar maple?
Right?
I mean, yeah. So that is an ALB host, but honestly, there hasn't been any found out in Berlin Hudson area.
Knock on wood.
Yeah.
What'd you say? Knock on wood.
Right.
So
Go to your room.
how big are these areas too? Because certain species might not do as well.
property already?
Not that I'm aware.
What was the question?
Are there invasive species on that?
Not that I've seen.
I haven't seen any.
Right. Unfortunately, once you start disturbing
Disturbing,
land,
yeah.
It
that's
goes
when the
nuts.
invasives all come in.
That's right.
Yeah. Yep. And really, you just like built a path into the woods for the invasives
Yep.
up there. Well,
I
we
would
can-
suggest Roundup, but I
yeah.
don't think
Yep.
that's a solution.
But yeah, especially right here, right?
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
Why don't you go spray it on yourself?
Yeah, right.
Although,
What about American redbud? It's always my.
be careful with lindens, because they'll do girdling roots. When you plant them, you gotta plant them just right. You gotta really prune those roots. Because they'll girdle itself.
Yep.
They have no free rein.
So what's our action tonight? Nothing?
So the next thing we have to do is ask you if we can continue the hearing. Well, actually, I don't know that we have to ask because there's no DEP number.
Right.
That's correct.
Right. So we can continue to our next meeting, or we can continue to the next meeting after the DEP number is issued.
That seems the most efficient. What are
Yep.
the chances? When's your next meeting?
November 2nd.
November 2nd.
Chance? Possible.
Today's the 19th, 18th?
It's 2 weeks.
Is it
First
the
and third,
19th?
first and third Wednesdays.
Right. Is
Um,
it 2 weeks or is it 3 weeks this time?
I think it's only 2.
Is it two?
You see?
It's kinda
It's
like-
only 2, yeah.
Yeah, it's two.
Yeah,
Wow.
two.
Yeah.
And then after that, it would be the 16th?
Correct.
The next
She said
month
that
might be-
we were the 17th file on her list.
That's, might be tight.
November
October
17th,
has-
16th?
Most likely.
I think that's where we're
This
at, Madam Chair.
And then more.
Yeah, this year?
And that would probably give us time, if you folks wanted to reach out to to Pat Gardner.
Sure.
We could
Yep, and get
coordinate
that,
We'll get a
get that
proposal from
going,
him.
yep.
So we're
And does that come from the town clerk, or
continuing?
does that come from you? Or
Hold on one second. It is not through the town clerk.
Okay.
Yeah, so we will, I'll send an email to Pat tomorrow, see if he's available, see if he wants to do it. And if he agrees, he will then put together the proposal and send it. What I'll do is I will put you on the email string
Okay,
so
great.
that he'll have your contact information and can send you the proposal.
Terrific.
And then,
We execute it, and then we go out and play in the woods.
right?
And then he makes sure your
That's the best
calculations
part.
are right.
Yes.
Well, hopefully he
Right, and then
doesn't.
he gets to read this, not us.
You know what I'm going to do is I will have Mike Scott come with me,
There you go.
because he will put Pat to sleep in a heartbeat, because I love him. I love him, but once he starts to go on that stuff there, it is like major snooze. It is. I did that in my early part of my career, and I enjoyed doing it, but you know,
Yeah.
enough already. You know?
It's not as pretty as this.
No,
Yeah.
I love those. So we're looking at the 16th.
Yep. Well, you're our first appointment that night, so we can say 7:30.
Terrific.
Right.
At
And that's
7:30.
provided DEP has issued the number.
Correct, right.
Yeah.
If for some reason we don't have a number, then we'll
Yep.
get in touch with you and say, hey, what do you want to do?
Yep,
Um,
terrific. Thanks. I'm sure we'll have one by then.
I would imagine.
She was very cordial, and I think, again, as I said to her, I think those of us who are parents, we've been there. It is demanding, to hold a job and to deal with the little ones, especially when they're so young. It'll drain the life out of you. So I get it. I
Yep.
totally get it. She's back. She needs her time to get settled back in.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I appreciate that.
Go with the file as well.
Kim Roth.
Oh,
I like the idea that you guys have those as well. Remember the
Lollipops?
days? Yeah.
Would you like one?
No, thank you. We used to do that type of
Thank
thing. We used to do that thing at
Love the
at our
sound.
meetings. It was great.
Otherwise, I'd say no.
That's true.
Well, folks, much appreciated. We will see you on
Do you
the...
want to keep the color coded, or do you want us to take it back?
Yeah, I don't think we need that. We've got this.
Okay, I'll take that. Not that long. Oh.
Don't beat yourself up over it.
Looks like somebody... It bothers me. It bothers me. It really does. And I
The man
wanted...
who-
I can tell you were upset by it.
I looked at it and it's like, you've got to be kidding me. So she's in the other room. She said, how's your rendering coming out? Good, don't come in.
Yeah.
She would have seen it and she would have like, that's ridiculous.
right,
My
thank
son's
you so much.
colorblind, he would
All
have
right.
appreciated
Have a
it.
good night.
Thanks,
Night,
folks,
guys.
much appreciated.
All right, I'm gonna bust mine open now that we're done with our guests.
All right.
No, I don't, yeah, I'm good.
Need a little sugar.
I expected a call from you. I would have gone back for you for sure.
There's no sewer, right?
No, no one.
There's no sewer up that end of town. So we can still try for that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
Been a while.
Yeah, I see.
Thank
you. Got it.
Do you have fun
There's
playing on your phone
I
and
got
stuff?
it, yeah.
I was
But
listening and
I
Yeah,
will
sure.
call.
Okay, full
taking it
attention.
from the other side,
I
the
just,
other.
Oh.
I was a little beat down, so I just,
Is it any more exciting from over there?
Yeah, I'll be glad to help.
yeah.
It's a
I don't know if I do any good,
Yep.
but,
No, I'd
Do
love
we
to
have to
help.
vote to continue the
Appreciate it,
hearing?
thank you.
I mean, I don't think we do because there is no DEP
Oh, okay.
number, so it's not a choice. Yeah,
Okay, that makes sense.
yep.
I
All
could
right.
use some assist, I'm sorry, Madam Chair. I could use some assistance in here with the apparatus.
Don't you
When
pay him
clients
enough?
do that. I hate when they do that. What am I, a pack mule? Thank you, folks. Have a good night.
Have a good night.
You too.
All right, we have a hike to tell you guys about, but we have two money things that we need to take care of first. So the closing for Horseshoe Pond, according to the last set of emails, I don't know. Tentatively, I think is like November 8th. Is that what it was?
I think somewhere
Somewhere
in
in
there.
that
Yeah, I
first
think
week of
November
November.
8th. Yep.
Town council was waiting to hear from Sudbury Valley trustees to see if that was okay with them. They were trying to close the week prior, but because of our meeting schedule and select board meeting schedule, and it made sense to push it out another week. I never heard if that was approved. Peg, did you ever hear, one way or another, if?
Wasn't on our past agenda, no.
Right.
And we're
So-
not meeting again until the 1st.
Right, so that's why if it wasn't, and it wasn't gonna be ready for this week, so. But because we don't meet again until the 2nd, we need to vote tonight to spend the money. Again, I feel like we've voted on this about 17 times, but we're gonna vote again.
Yeah.
Because we were asked to vote again. So we're gonna vote again.
We do what we're asked, right?
But, but this time we do need to fill out, Robin needs to fill out the
Yep.
paperwork to give to June to actually spend the money. So,
Do we have to sign that or anything, or no? We just vote?
yes, no, we
Yeah.
have to,
Oh, do
we all
something.
have to
big
sign
one.
it, yeah. So
Oh,
this
okay.
is like the big for
Oh,
real.
Gotcha.
So when will that actually be an hour in Berlin's name?
We are hoping to close the first week of November. So, 3 weeks,
Yeah,
yeah?
good. That's a big one.
It is a big one. So, and I was also, there was some talk about getting actual real numbers from June, or June wanted real numbers from the attorneys. Again, haven't heard anything. So what I'm proposing is that we're gonna vote tonight to spend the money the way it's broken down in the warrant, because that's how it was approved. Does that make sense? Okay. It's the best I can do.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Does that specify what accounts all the
it
money's
does.
coming from?
Yep,
Do you want to pass that over and I'll fill
I
this out?
certainly can. Let me just, I believe, so the CPA money is also broken down in a different warrant article. Oh, no, it actually isn't. It was all put into one warrant article. Yeah, so it is, the warrant article is Article 23 from the annual town meeting. And unless there's any further discussion, I would take a motion, and I'll give you the motion this time.
All right.
So
Yeah,
moved.
ready.
Oh, you're gonna give it? Oh, we can't just say so. I say.
I would take a motion to purchase the Horseshoe Pond property from Sudbury Valley trustees for $1.1 million as it's broken down in Article 23.
1.1 or 1.25?
We're spending 1.1.
Where's the rest coming from?
Sudbury Valley trustees.
Oh, the 150?
They're charging us 1.1.
Oh, so they're kicking in some money? Oh,
Yeah.
That's nice,
Yeah.
okay.
Yes,
So 1.1,
million.
In that case, though, this probably doesn't total up, does it?
Let me see.
So.
Oh, actually, maybe you did put,
Right,
oh, you
I-
did take it
yeah,
out, okay.
yep.
So we got 800 from the state,
876, 4?
Yeah.
800,
so
yeah.
we're paying less than
So
a house
it-
lot.
Ours is a reimbursement,
Yeah.
right. Yes, we will, yes. Okay.
That's good.
as broken down in Article 23, the annual town meeting, 2022, May 2022 annual town meeting. I think that's everything that needs to be in there.
So moved.
Okay. As broken down in Article,
23. From the May 2022 annual town meeting.
I would say, and approved.
Yes, and approved at town meeting.
What was the date?
May 22, May.
The date's on the front of that somewhere. May 3rd-ish.
Something like that, yeah, it's before.
okay.
Tends
So
to be when it is.
May 2nd.
Yeah.
I just wanna
Was
write it
that
down.
unanimous?
May.
It wasn't, but it was close.
Darn close.
May 2nd.
Was what?
2022 was the annual town meeting.
Oh, okay. May 2nd.
Okay.
Okay. So
Kyle,
I'll second.
okay. Any further discussion?
Does woo-hoo count?
Yeah. That can be your vote. Hearing none, I'll ask you to vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Woohoo! All those opposed? All right, good. We have a motion. The next money that we need to talk about is, so part of the grant was not only the land, but it was also like the cost of the kiosk. We also had to have the trail guides interpreted into Spanish and Portuguese.
Yep.
Which Sudbury Valley Trustees has done. We need to pay, at some point, pay Sudbury Valley Trustees for that so that we can get reimbursed as part of the reimbursement grant. And the cost of that was $350.
What?
Or for $350 for one of them and then another price for.
Right, $350 for one and $550 for the other.
So move.
We have a.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
Okay, so
I'll give that
We're-
back to you for now.
And where's that
what's
gonna
the
come
total
from?
that we're reimbursing them?
So what was it, 300, 300 and 550, 850 total. Right, did I do that?
350 and
350 and 550.
Oh, sorry, 900.
Yep.
900?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
I missed the 50 on the 3.
That's a lot of money.
I think we get it all reimbursed though. I think that was.
Yeah.
Right, we get
Yeah.
100% reimbursement for that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Nice.
Do we have a recent?
Yeah,
We
for-
have $260,000 in our account, right? The open space.
Correct. 282.
282, okay.
According to, yeah. Yes, I know. That's why I was hoping for some real numbers.
So the money will be reimbursed to us from the grant.
Yeah, so we pay SVT and then I report it to Hillary and she'll.
Reimburse us.
Yes.
Right.
So this 100,000 that says SVT fundraising for the purpose of this land acquisition,
Mm-hmm.
that can't come through the town, right?
No, but that's why that is the $100,000 difference. If you add up those numbers, what does it come to? This was so long ago. I should have done this yesterday, so I remembered again.
All right, so without this 150, these other numbers come to the 1.1. So I
Okay.
just need to add this community preservation, this undesignated.
Okay, that's what I thought. That's how I thought it worked out. All right. Forty Caves. Maddie and I went for a walk with Sudbury Valley trustees at 40 Caves on Sunday. It was a beautiful day to be out in the woods.
Like 2.5 mile walk.
Yep, 2.5 mile loop.
Guided by Dan.
Oh, I gotta sign too. Oh, yeah.
And,
Oh, you know, I
yeah.
probably should.
What do you do, just stay out on the edge and follow it around?
Yeah, so
Or
we
do
went
you
in
do
on
backtrack?
Francis Street.
Oh, yeah.
And
you
then,
sat in
and then
there, yeah.
around, and then over to like Lancaster, over
Yeah.
by the tracks,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
back around. Yeah, it was a,
2.5 miles, good.
yep, it was a nice loop. It was a beautiful day. Dan stopped and talked about a whole bunch of things along
Did
the
you
way.
have other people with you?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yep, pretty good turnout. It's probably
10,
Yeah, 10.
I'm gonna go make a copy
10,
of
12
this.
people? Okay.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Yeah.
yeah, definitely a beautiful day. You know?
Yeah, this weekend was so nice. That's all I have. Oh, do you want to tell us about the MACC conference?
MACC.
Yes.
So, the lunch menu. It started out with sort of coffee and bagels and donuts and things like that, which I was not expecting. Very nice. Peter Wheeler was in charge of the catering. You did a bang-up job. So that was kind of a warm-up, get to meet a few people. I talked to some forestry people.
Oh, yeah, they have that vendor area
Yeah,
and everything.
yeah. And some mapping, there was a discussion about some new mapping program that was being touted. Well, then you had the choice of 3 breakout sessions or instructional sessions that ran just over an hour apiece. And there were a dozen or so to pick from, but you could only pick 3 because the time
I know, that was
limitations.
always the hardest.
So the first one I attended was restoration after the removal of invasive species. And there are 2 great takeaways from
Yeah.
that I got. One is
Just
you can
with
now
the
purchase
aging.
wattle that is not wrapped in plastic. All completely biodegradable wattle and slope mats and things like that. The other was removing the invasive species doesn't mean you're done. And replacing them with natives doesn't mean you're done. But you can expect that with invasive species, you'll probably do maintenance on a small scale, but you'll have to do some virtually every year. They're so persistent. The second one was finding grant money, finding money to pay for and help to pay and accomplish projects in your community, whether it be wetland projects or open space hiking trails, whatever. It was good, although I have to say a lot of it was so new to me that I wrote things down that I'm going to have to spend some time researching.
You got home and you're
It's-
like, what the heck
it's
does that mean?
complicated.
It's very complicated.
And then the third was pulling together, getting a handle on invasive species. And there were 4 presenters from 4 different towns, Shirley, Groton, I don't remember. I don't remember what I had for breakfast either. Anyway, 4 small towns who were cooperating with each other because somebody had had some success with this and reached out and said, hey, we think we got a formula that works. And they had actually formed a committee in the town rather than a full-blown commission or something like that. It's not totally informal. And, they reach out to volunteers, they get support from local businesses for things like coffee and refreshments and things. And they have parties to go after these invasive species. And I thought it was real interesting. They had some of the same comments as the restoration person. Yeah, you pull all that stuff out you want, but you know you're going to have to go back and keep after it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So those were the 3 sessions. Learned a lot. Enjoyed it. And not enjoyed it from, like this was fun and a party, but more, I felt really enriched by being able to talk to a lot of other people with a lot of the same interests that we have here.
Yep.
So,
Yeah,
thank you.
I always found going to the conference rewarding.
Oh my.
Yeah.
So,
Let you
Yep.
sign that.
all right.
Can we submit that tonight? Or does that?
Yeah, I told June we would put it in her box tonight, so.
Okay.
Yep,
Let me scan it then and I'll.
all right. That way, as with all of these kinds of things, I don't like us to be the one holding anything up,
Yeah.
so.
So is that it? Do we have any other business?
I
or-
believe that's it. Does anybody else have anything they would like to talk about?
Nope.
All right,
I'll make a motion to close in the meeting at 8:55 PM.
Second.
all those in favor?
I
Aye.